What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And NBA free agency started around an hour or so ago, and the 76ers, they have made some important moves to bringing back players for next season. Players like Tobias Harris and Mike Scott. Tobias Harris signing a 5-year deal worth $180 million, and Mike Scott signing a 2-year deal worth $9.8 million, which is two good signings to start the free agency window for the Philadelphia 76ers and bringing back some really important players that we had last season. Players like Tobias Harris, who was an important piece in our starting five, even though he didn't find that consistency in his time with the Sixers, but most of that time was just adjusting to the playbook and adjusting to his new team, and he just really didn't find that consistency yet. But I do believe that a player like Tobias Harris, he's a really good player in this league, and I feel like he will find his consistency with the Philadelphia 76ers now getting a full year to play with this team. And it's really important down the stretch because Tobias Harris is a really good scorer from the 3 point line, and we need that threat from the 3 point line now that we lost JJ Redick to the New Orleans Pelicans. So, and that's also sad news because there was a lot of reports saying that JJ Redick wanted to sign back with the Sixers and retire with the Sixers. But then it just upped in reports that he signs with the New Orleans Pelicans for a 2-year deal, I think was worth 26 to 29 mil. So that was shocking and sad news to see right there from JJ Redick. But it just looked like he wasn't on the window for Elton Brand to sign. And it's probably better down the road because JJ Redick wasn't that big, really good of a defensive player. And even though he was a fan favorite, I guess he just wasn't in the book for Elton Brand to bring back for his team next season because probably wants to focus on other things. So he brings back Tobias Harris, who's a really good threat from the 3 point line, and I think he's just going to get better. He's still young. He's only 26 years old, so I still believe he can get even better with the Philadelphia 76ers. So, really good signing there by Elton Brand. And I feel like this contract, no one really stated that it's a max contract, but at this point I do believe it could be a max for Tobias Harris because it's at the 5-year term worth 180 mil. So this could be a max contract. I'm not really sure yet because I'm not really used to like the NBA way they sign their contracts with the max because I'm more used to like leagues like the MLB and the NHL when they sign players to contracts. I'm not really accustomed to free agency in the NBA yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So we also bring back players like Mike Scott, who was a really important bench piece last season. He played really good important minutes for us. I think he averaged around 24 minutes a game, which off the bench was surprising. Even though he was really good off the bench for us, he made some important points when needed to, and he played really good defensively, especially in the playoffs. And coming back from an injury in the playoffs, he just played some important minutes from us, and we need players like that off the bench because that's what we lacked last season, and we also lacked that in the playoffs, which it kind of showed on the starting five players like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So bringing back Mike Scott, that can help the bench a lot. But I still think Elton Brand is definitely not done yet. He's definitely going to bolster the bench even more because that is something that killed us last season, especially in the playoffs. So he's going to bring back that bench depth just to help players like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and just a starting five in general. So I really do like these two signings by Elton Brand, bringing back Tobias Harris and Mike Scott. But then, where does that leave Jimmy Butler right now? So, with all the reports that he might go to Miami, or even the reports that were like a week and a half to 2 weeks ago with the sign and trade with the Houston Rockets, those rumors died down a little bit, but there's been a lot of other reports coming from today saying that he might sign with the Miami Heat, or they might do another sign and trade with the Philadelphia 76ers, sending Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat, which will send players in return to the 76ers. So I really don't know what this is going to do, Elton Brand is going to do with Jimmy Butler right now. If this is like Jimmy Butler just wants to go and play where he wants to play, just let him do that. Just in my opinion right now, I would love Jimmy Butler to be back in a 76ers uniform, but at this point with all the reports coming out right now, even though I'm taking them with a grain of salt because I'm waiting for something to be official, just in my opinion, I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to return to the 76ers, even though I desperately want him to come back because I enjoyed the mentality that he brought to the 76ers and I enjoyed the leadership that he brought, especially for players like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. That's something you can't go without. You can't have a team without that veteran leadership, and that's what Jimmy Butler brought. And those moments where he took over games, like important games at the end of the season, like the game against the Boston Celtics, where he took over that fourth quarter after struggling for most of that game. Jimmy Butler is a guy that can take over a game at will, and that is something the 76ers need, even though we have players like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It's just that type of player like Jimmy Butler, you can't live without, and it's going to be tough seeing if Jimmy Butler does end up leaving this organization and going to a team like Miami. So it's going to be an interesting next few hours, next couple of days to see what happens with Jimmy Butler and what the Sixers are going to do right now, because that's an important piece lost right there for the 76ers. And I think with the cap space right now, I think we have like $39 million in cap space. So I really don't know what is going to happen with the Jimmy Butler situation. If Elton Brand's even going to focus on signing Jimmy Butler at all, or he's going to look somewhere else. So really don't know what Elton Brand's going to do for the upcoming few hours or next few days with free agency so far. Don't know what he's going to add to this team. He's definitely going to add players that can help out the bench, because that's something we lacked last season. But he's definitely going to focus on more helping out the starting five, because right now our starters look like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Tobias Harris right now. So we need 2 extra players for that starting five. We're not going to start Mike Scott, so Mike Scott's going to come off the bench. So we need 2 extra players to put into the starting five, because also we lost J.J. Redick, who was part of that starting five right now. So we don't know what's going to happen going into free agency so far. And there's also been reports that the Sixers might go after Al Horford from the Celtics, who is also a free agent. But then there's other players out there in free agency, like what the Brooklyn Nets are doing right now. They lost a player like D'Angelo Russell, even though they added players like Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan and Kevin Durant. So they added those 3 players while losing an also good player like D'Angelo Russell. So could Elton Brand go after a player like that? There's also Kawhi Leonard on the market, but I don't expect Kawhi Leonard to come to the 76ers. So I do expect Kawhi Leonard probably to go out into the West Coast, the Western Conference. But that's news for another day. We don't know what players like Jimmy Butler or Kawhi Leonard are going to go to. I don't know what Elton Brand is going to pursue right now. But I do think his focus right now is helping the starting five out and bolstering the bench, because those are needs we desperately need right now. And it's a start right now with re-signing Tobias Harris and bringing back Mike Scott, which is an important piece moving down the road for next season. So, what are your guys' thoughts on bringing back Tobias Harris and Mike Scott? What are your thoughts on the moves that Elton Brand is possibly going to make? Do you think he's going to bring back Jimmy Butler? Do you think he's going to let him walk? Or do you think he's going to do this sign and trade thing that's reportedly with the Miami Heat? So, don't forget to leave a comment, don't forget to drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, boys, and I will see you in the next video. I will keep you updated on Sixers roster moves from free agency onward, and I'm also going to keep you updated on big moves in NBA free agency as well as NHL free agency, because NHL free agency starts tomorrow afternoon. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.